Hello everyone, welcome to this class. I hope you are doing very well. So, welcome to this class, and in this class we are going to discuss this chapter, that is some basic concepts of chemistry. In this chapter already we have discussed some important points, like we have discussed what is chemistry, what are the importance, what are the applications of chemistry. We have discussed matter, classification of matter, states of matter, properties of solid, liquid and gas, and other basic terms. Apart from this, like we had discussed, like basic terms like atom, molecule of elements, molecule of compounds, right? And after that we had discussed properties and their measurement, in which we had discussed some physical properties, chemical properties, and some we had discussed the SI unit. What we had discussed, SI unit and their prefixes as well. Okay, so in this class we are going to discuss very interesting or important topic, that it will be the laws of chemical combination. Actually, in laws of chemical combination we have five basic laws. Five basic laws means, like, there are five basic laws, and these laws actually tells us about that how these atoms are combining to form molecule, how these compounds are formed. Okay, so these laws are combinedly named as laws of chemical combination. In laws of chemical combination we have to discuss five basic laws. I am writing the name of these five basic laws. The first law is law of conservation of mass, and these basic laws you already discussed in your lower grades as well. Okay, but not all these laws. Okay, you have discussed, like, what is law of conservation of mass, I know. So law of conservation of mass, law of definite proportion, you have learned in your lower grades. What is law of definite proportion by mass? You can say this law is also named as law of constant proportion. The third will be law of multiple proportion. Fourth will be like Gay-Lussac law of gaseous volume, and the last one will be Avogadro law. These are the five basic laws that we are going to discuss today in this particular class. And in this class, we will discuss laws of chemical combination, in which five basic laws are there, and these laws are important. Okay. So first law is law of conservation of mass. Law of conservation of mass you have already learned in your previous grades, like in ninth grade or 10th grade. What is law of conservation of mass? It's a very interesting law. Suppose you have taken some amount of A, like 10 gram, and you have taken some amount of B, like 20 gram. So we are expecting, and this is a balanced chemical equation. I am writing a balanced chemical equation. We are expecting a product which is AB. So what amount of AB you are expecting here? So without any calculation, without anything, you can just predict the amount of product. 10 plus 20, it will be 30 gram. If no other side products or no other waste is here. So this is very interesting actually. Reactants are reacting with each other. These are the reactants, and they are forming products. So reactants are reacting with each other and they are forming products, and some amount of reactants are reacting and they are forming some amount of products. But we can predict the amount of reactants and products if we know any one of them. Like, suppose if we know the amount of products and one of the reactant, then we can predict the amount of another reactant. So this is about the what? This is about the law of conservation of mass. For example, let's suppose Mg plus O2. They are reacting with each other and they are giving magnesium oxide. And you have learned this reaction already in the class 10th activity, like magnesium ribbon activity. Okay, activity of magnesium ribbon. and you will get MgO. But this equation is not a balanced chemical equation. Now you understand the law of conservation of mass. Law of conservation of mass also predict the balanced or unbalanced chemical equation, right? So it helps us to predict that this reaction is balanced or this reaction is not balanced. But how? Let's understand with this example. You have taken Mg plus O2 gives MgO. If Mg is reacting with oxygen and it is giving MgO, so the point is here the atomic mass of oxygen is 24 gram. The oxygen molecule mass will be what? 16 to the 32 gram. So we are expecting that we will get 24 plus 32. It means total 56 gram here, right? 24 plus 32 will be 56 gram. But if I am calculating the mass of this compound, it comes out to be 24 for Mg plus 16 for oxygen, and it is 24 plus 16, 40 gram. It means this 40 gram is not matching with this 56 gram. So you can say the atoms of elements which are present on reactant side and product side actually are not equal, right? It means you can say the total number of atoms on each side are not equal, right? Total number of atoms of each and every element on the product side and the reactant side are not equal because the total mass of the reactants is not equal to the total mass of the product. If the total mass of the reactants and the total mass of the products are not equal, this equation is not balanced chemical equation. And if the equation is not a balanced chemical equation, so how can you balance this equation? So let's understand the balanced chemical equation. So if I will balance this equation, that means if I will put a coefficient 2 here in front of Mg and you will get 2 MgO. So what can I say? 2 Mg means 48 gram. O2 means 32 gram. If you will sum these two values, you will get 80 gram. And if I will calculate the mass of MgO, 1 MgO which is 40 gram, multiply with 2, it will be 80 gram. You can say the total mass of the reactants is now equal to the total mass of the products. If the mass of the reactants is equal to the mass of the products, you can say that this is a balanced chemical equation. And now you can also say that the total number of atoms of each and every element in the reactant side and product side are equal. But in the previous case, this case A, in this case, the total number of atoms in each side are not, on each side are not equal. So, law of conservation of mass definitely helps us to predict whether the reaction is balanced or not balanced. I hope you are getting this point. So let's understand the law of conservation of mass definition as well. So you can see the definition of law of conservation of mass. So you can see first of all Antoine Lavoisier, and the years are 1743 to 1794. Okay. The combination of elements to form compounds, we are getting like S plus O2 gives SO2, SO3, HCl, HBr, NH3, CH4, etc. These things are governed by 5 basic laws. The first law that we are going to discuss now, law of conservation of mass, and it was put forth by Antoine Lavoisier in 1789. Okay, in his time periods from 1743 to 1794, he put forth this law in 1789, right? In 1789, he performed careful experimental studies and so much experiments for combustion reactions and reached to the conclusion. As I told you, the combustion reaction of magnesium like Mg plus O2 gives MgO. He performed these types of combustion reactions, so many combustion reactions, and he reached to the conclusion that in all the physical and chemical changes, there is no net change in mass. In all the physical and chemical changes, there is no net change in mass during the process. It's a very interesting point. It's a very, very interesting point. So, according to law of conservation of mass, what is the conclusive point now? Matter can neither be created nor be destroyed during a balanced chemical equation or during a balanced chemical reaction. He reached to conclusion that matter can neither be created nor destroyed, and this statement is called law of conservation of mass. As you know, law of conservation of energy, similarly, mass is also conserved. Energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, only it can transform from one form to another form. Na? Similarly, matter can neither be created nor be destroyed during a balanced chemical equation. And this law definitely formed the basis for several later developments in chemistry. Based on this law, so many developments were there in chemistry after this law. Right? This law is very interesting. This law predict whether a reaction is balanced or unbalanced. Whether a reaction is balanced or unbalanced. This law was given by next law is law of definite proportion. I hope you are very much clear about the law of conservation of mass. If I want to tell you some more important point regarding the law of conservation of mass, so you can say according to law of conservation of mass, matter can neither be created nor be destroyed during a balanced chemical equation. If the equation is not balanced, so you can say the total mass of the reactants. If the reaction is not balanced, then the total mass of the reactants will not be equal to the total mass of the products. If the reaction is balanced, then the total mass of the reactants will be equal to the total mass of the products. It means you can say if the reaction is balanced and total mass of the reactants is equal to the total mass of the products, then you can say what you can say then. If the total mass of the reactants is equal to the total mass of the products and the reaction is balanced, it means the number of atoms of each and every element, number of atoms of elements, or you can say each and every element will be equal to the, in the reactant side, number of atoms of elements in reactant side will be equal to the number of atoms of each and every element in the product side. Number of atoms of elements in reactants, number of atoms of elements in reactants or reactant side you can write will be equal to the number of atoms of elements in product side. In product side. So these two statements are also correct according to law of conservation. So now I want to conclude the law of conservation of mass, because now I want to start the law of definite proportion, law of constant proportion by mass. Okay, which is also very interesting. And you know, after these laws, we will study Dalton's atomic theory, which is based on these laws of chemical combinations, which is based on these laws of chemical combination, and which was credited as the first theory on nature of matter, the first theory on nature of matter given by John Dalton, based on the laws of chemical combinations, based on the laws of chemical combinations. So you can understand here that, repeating one more time, according to law of conservation of mass, total mass of the reactant must be equal to the total mass of the products in a balanced chemical equation. It means you can say that the total number of atoms of each and every element in the reactant side must be equal to the total number of atoms of each and every element in the product side. If the number of atoms of elements in the reactant side and product side are equal, the reaction is said to be balanced. And if these things are not equal, the equation is said to be unbalanced or skeletal chemical equation. Okay. And the final point, according to law of conservation mass, is that matter can neither be created nor be destroyed. Matter can neither be created nor be destroyed. Let's come to law of definite proportion. The point is that you are at your home. Okay, I am giving you 8 situations. You are at the place A, then you are at the place B, you are at the place C, you are at the place D, similarly E, then F. Okay, 6 places are there. Suppose first of all you are at the place A and there is a water cooler and you are using that and you are drinking some water, and you have found it in lab that the formula of this water is, if the water is pure, I'm not going with impurities, then the formula of water will be H2O. Similarly, at place B, you did the same thing and you found that the formula of water is H2O. Similarly, at C, same thing happens and you found this H2O. At D, you found H2O. At E, you found H2O. At F, you found H2O. My point is here, these what I can say, these areas A, B, C, D, E and F, these locations are very far apart from each other. Still the formula of water is H2 everywhere. Not only at these particular locations, every location, each and every location, you can check in India, you can go to the foreign country, you can go to any state and you can check the formula of water, which will be H2O. So we can say, irrespective of the source, weight, how much water we have taken, like 1 liter, 2 liter, 500 liter, anything, irrespective of the source, weight, volume and locations, the formula of water will remain same. Not only water, we have taken an example of water, you can take another example. Like if you are, the respiration process. In respiration process, we inhale O2 and exhale CO2. O2, CO2, right? Not only me, if you are exhaling, what is the name of the gas that you are exhaling? Carbon dioxide. If you are burning something, right, like suppose methane, CH4 plus O2 gives CO2 plus 2H2. 2H2O. CH4 plus 2O2, you can write. CH4 plus 2O2 gives CO2 plus 2H2. This is balanced chemical equation. So here you are getting methane. Not methane, you are burning ethane, you are burning any other material. So what will happen? You will get CO2 also here. I'm not writing the complete equation here. Like volcanoes. In volcanoes eruptions, CO2 is there, right? So 3 situations I have given to you: situation A, situation B and situation C. And XYZ situation also you can take, no problems there, but the formula of carbon dioxide will be the same. It will be CO2. It is a very interesting point, and someone noticed this point. Someone noticed. Who? Joseph Proust. Joseph Proust noticed this point and provided and put forth this law that is named as law of definite proportion, and this law was given by a French chemist who was Joseph Proust. He stated that in his entire life, from 1754 to 1826, he stated that a given compound always contains exactly the same proportion of elements by weight. He stated this point by weight. That's why this law sometimes also named as law of definite proportion by mass. Law of definite proportion by mass. Repeating one more time, he stated that that a given compound, whatever the compound like SO2, CO2, NS3, SCl, HBr, always contains exactly the same proportion of elements by weight. To prove this, Proust worked with two samples of cupric carbonate, CuCO3, and he found what? Two samples, like one of which was of natural origin and the other was synthetic. One of which was natural origin and other was synthetic. And he found the composition of elements present in it. What he found? The composition of elements present in it was same for both the samples. One is from natural origin and other was synthetic. Still, the copper percentage, the carbon percentage, and the oxygen percentage in case of natural and synthetic, the composition of elements present in cupric carbonate is same. The percentage of copper in natural sample is 51.35. The percentage of carbon in natural sample is 9.74, and the percentage of oxygen in natural sample is 38.91. And same composition, you can see the percentage of copper, carbon, and oxygen in synthetic sample is 51.35, 9.74, and 38.91 respectively. Very interesting point. And this proved that in a given compound, which always contains exactly the same proportion of elements by weight. And he concluded that irrespective of the source, a given compound always contains the same elements combined together in the same proportion by mass. In the same proportion by mass. For example, you are taking CO2 and you are taking the carbon ratio oxygen, the mass ratio of elements, which is carbon ratio oxygen. So the mass of carbon, only one carbon is here, so 12, and the mass of two oxygens will be 32. It comes out to be the simplest ratio is 3:8. So in case of carbon dioxide, irrespective of the source, this CO2 always contains carbon and oxygen which combined together in 3:8 by mass. Carbon ratio oxygen 3:8 by mass respectively. Not only CO2, you can take other examples, like suppose CO is here. So carbon is combining with oxygen and it is forming CO2, and carbon can combine with oxygen and it can form CO as well, which is carbon monoxide. With CO, you can see carbon ratio oxygen. The mass of carbon is 12 in this compound CO and oxygen is 16 here. So 4 3s are 12 and 4 4s are 16. So the ratio of masses of elements, carbon ratio oxygen in case of carbon monoxide is same irrespective of the source and everything, that is 3:4. Not in carbon monoxide, you can take the example of water as well. If you want to calculate the hydrogen ratio oxygen, which is comes out to be 2:18, it 2:16. Oxygen atomic mass is 16, so it comes out to be 1:8. Not only this, you can take the example of ammonia. If you are taking the nitrogen ratio hydrogen, which is 14:3, and this is the simplest ratio. And the validity of this law has been confirmed by various experiments. And this law is sometimes referred as law of constant proportion, law of definite composition, or law of fixed composition, or law of fixed proportion. That's very interesting. So this is about the law of constant and law of fixed composition. You can take the example of any compound like NS3, CO2, CO, H2O, SO2, SO3, SCl, HBr, any example. If you are taking the example of SO2, sulfur ratio oxygen, you are taking the mass ratio of sulfur to oxygen. The ratio of masses of elements, sulfur ratio oxygen, will be same irrespective of the source and everything. The mass of sulfur is, you know very well, 32, and for oxygen it is also 32. So the mass ratio for sulfur ratio oxygen in case of SO2 is 1:1, right? Sulfur atomic number is 16 and the sulfur atomic mass is 32. Oxygen atomic number is 8 and oxygen atomic mass is 16. Sulfur is belonging to the oxygen family and oxygen belongs to the chalcogens, means group 16th, and sulfur is there. Oxygen 8, sulfur 16. Okay, I hope you have gone through the periodic table. Okay, not only SO2, you can take some other examples and you can take the mass ratio of elements. If I want to say like HNO3, if I want to say H2SO4, then we can say like SCl, we can say like KBr, we can say like NaCl, we can say like Na2SO4. You can take any compound, whatever the compounds you know, you can take any compound. You can take the mass ratio of like C6H12O6, which is named as glucose. You can take the mass ratio of C12H22O11, which is of like disaccharide like sucrose, maltose. You can take these examples, and the formula of these disaccharides is C12H22O11. You can take the mass ratio of carbon to hydrogen to oxygen in each case. In this case, like in HNO3, in H2SO4, in SCl, in KBr, in NaCl, in Na2SO4, in C6H12O6, you can take the mass ratio of their respective elements and you will find that irrespective of the source, the mass ratio will be constant. The mass ratio of these elements, irrespective of everything, will be same everywhere. Will be same everywhere. This is about the law of definite proportion, and this law is named as law of constant proportion by mass. The next law, which is very interesting law of multiple proportion. As I told you, like carbon can combine with oxygen and it can form carbon dioxide as well as it can form carbon monoxide. Similarly, like hydrogen can combine with oxygen, it can form water, which is having the formula H2O, and hydrogen can combine with oxygen and it can form hydrogen peroxide having the formula H2O2. So this law of multiple proportion, who used these laws of chemical combinations? John Dalton. John Dalton definitely provided this law that is named as law of multiple proportion, and this law was proposed by Dalton in 1803. And according to this law, listen me very carefully, according to this law, if two elements like hydrogen and oxygen are combining to form more than one compound, so hydrogen oxygen can combine to form water as well as they can form hydrogen peroxide. That depends on the what stoichiometric ratio, whatever we are taking, and also excess or limited amount. The masses of one element. So when two elements are combining, then and they are producing more than one compounds to form more than one compound, the masses of one element that combine, the masses of like oxygen that combined with a fixed mass 2 gram and 2 gram, in both cases 2 gram hydrogen is here. The masses of one elements that combine with a fixed mass of other element are in the ratio of small whole numbers, are in the ratio of small whole numbers. How can I say this? When hydrogen and oxygen, when hydrogen is combining with oxygen, it is forming water. And in another case, hydrogen is combining with oxygen, but it is forming hydrogen peroxide. Two gram hydrogen and 16 gram oxygen gives 18 gram water. right? In this case, 2 gram hydrogen and 32 gram oxygen is combining to give 34 gram hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide is having this type of like linkage, peroxide linkage. Okay. The interesting point is that when two elements are combining to forming a more than one compound like water and hydrogen peroxide, the masses of one element which is combining with the same mass of other elements, the mass of one element that combined with a fixed mass of other element are in the ratio of small whole numbers. If you are taking the mass ratio of this oxygen and this oxygen, it comes out to be 16 gram ratio 32 gram, and this is 1 ratio 2 gram. This is the simplest ratio, right? This is the simplest ratio and small whole number ratio. Example I told you already, hydrogen combined with oxygen to form two compounds, namely water and hydrogen peroxide, having formula H2O2. And here the mass of oxygen, it means 16 gram and 32 gram, which combined with a fixed mass of hydrogen bear a simple ratio. What type of ratio? 16 ratio 32. It means 1 ratio 2. It means 1 ratio 2. This law is named as law of multiple proportion. The next law that we will be discussing will be the Gay-Lussac law of gaseous volumes. Okay, so today we had discussed three important laws. What we are discussing? We are discussing laws of chemical combinations. How combination occurs, how these compounds are formed, how SO2, CO2, H2O, HCl, HNO3, H2SO4, NS3, these compounds are formed. So laws of chemical combinations determine this point. Laws of chemical combination. In laws of chemical combination, we have introduced the first one is the law of conservation of mass. I am quickly recalling the points. Law of conservation of mass. According to law of conservation of mass, the Antoine Lavoisier concluded that after so many experiments, he fact that what he said that matter can neither be created nor be destroyed. Or you can say in a balanced chemical equation, the total mass of the reactants must be equal to the total mass of the products. Or you can say in a balanced chemical equation, the number of atoms of each and every element will be equal to the number of atoms of each and every element in the product side. Repeating one more time, the number of atoms of each and every element in the reactant side must be equal to the number of atoms of each and every element in the product side in a balanced chemical equation. According to law of conservation of mass. According to law of conservation of mass, and I have given some examples as well. The next law that we have discussed is law of multiple proportion. The next law after law of conservation of mass we have discussed is law of definite proportion. Law of fixed proportion. Law of constant proportion by mass. You can also use the word by mass. According to this law, law of definite proportion by mass, or you can say law of constant proportion by mass, whenever a compound is formed, the compound always contains exactly the same proportion of elements by weight or by their mass. You can say a given compound always contains same elements combined together in the same proportion by mass. That is the law of definite proportion or law of constant proportion or law of fixed proportion by mass. And this law was given by definitely Joseph Proust. This law was given by Joseph Proust, and who was a French chemist. Then we had understood about the law of multiple proportion, and this law was given by John Dalton. John Dalton in 1803. John Dalton in 1803. According to this law is very simple. Not only we have given the example of hydrogen and oxygen, you can take the example of like carbon and oxygen. Carbon plus oxygen gives carbon dioxide. Similarly, carbon plus oxygen can give carbon monoxide. Okay. And in this case, you can see if two elements can combine, like hydrogen and oxygen are combining and they are forming water to form more than one compound, it means they can form water as well as they can form carbon dioxide. The masses of one element that combine. So hydrogen mass is fixed here, that combined with a fixed mass of other elements are in the ratio of small whole number. So oxygen mass ratio is in the small whole number ratio, that is 1:2. If I'm comparing this first equation and second equation, oxygen, it means 16 gram ratio 32 gram, it comes out to be 1:2. 1:2. So today we had discussed these three laws. First is law of conservation of mass, second is law of definite proportion, and third is law of multiple proportion. Two laws are remaining. So these two laws we will discuss in the next class. Gay-Lussac law of gaseous volumes and Avogadro's law. And these are the five basic laws which govern the combination of what atoms to form compounds. So I hope so far everything is clear to everyone. And after that, as I told you already, we will be going to discuss Gay-Lussac law of gaseous volume, and which is also a very interesting law. And these laws are used by John Dalton to provide his atomic theory, which is named as Dalton's atomic theory. Okay. So let's meet you all in the next class, and we will discuss in the next class the another two remaining laws. So this is all about the five out of five basic laws, three laws are covered. And thank you so much everyone. This is all about this today's session.